Don't need that one today.
Well, I want to thank Judge Roberts and Mayor Calhoun and Representative Belcher. And I also want to say thanks to all the previous Andrus winners that came today. And a special thanks to Phil. Phil, for all that he said up here, he's one of the best and brightest people that I know. He oversees a tremendous amount of work at AARP, to which my contribution is small. And he's become a cherished friend. And as a volunteer, I met Jane and Tatisha and Cheryl and Patrice and Scott and Kathy, who's not here, and many other of the talented AARP staff, both locally and nationally. They support a little army of volunteers who always ask for more resources, and they somehow find most of that for us. My fellow AARP volunteers and all of the staff are amazing people. And these great relationships are part of my payback for volunteering. I'd like to thank Ruth and the university for letting us use the hall today. And a word of caution to you, unless you're ready to commit, don't ever say to Ruth, sure, I'll help out on that. I want to thank Linda Anderson and Carolyn Weekly, Roger Clark, for placing me in nomination for the Andrus. Those here who received the award in previous years know how good it makes you feel. And the people that wrote the nomination took on a lot of work to prepare it for the Andrus Committee. They are part of my chapter, which is now the first chapter in Kentucky to produce 2 Andrus Award winners. I want to introduce some of my family. My daughter Lisa Mendite and her husband Chris. Lisa's our family gourmet chef. Chris makes the most amazing photographs that you'll ever see. And then there's grandson Cole, who's just amazing. My son Brad and his family were going to be here, but the bug has invaded their household. So in honor of not making you sick, they didn't come. But he shares my enjoyment of motorcycle riding, and he actually understands my computer. He has a lovely wife, Jeannie, and they brought 2 fabulous little girls into our lives, Emily and Natalie. My sister Melinda, professional, very bright woman, which makes it so hard for me to understand why she does not always agree with me. These people are such an important part of my life, and I want to thank them for being here today, and I hope you'll give them a little applause for putting up with it. And then there's Rita. Oh. Please recognize Rita. Rita's the keystone in my life. I call her the no problem girl. I told her about 10 years ago that I had met with some AARP volunteers, and they had extended an invitation for me to join them in their work. And I asked her what she thought. She said it sounded good. So then I said, well, I may have to travel some as a volunteer, and she said, no problem. Tell me what is the occasion, and I'll see you're addressed properly. I said, well, Rita, you're going to dress me up all sharp, and I got to tell you, there are a lot of attractive women that work and volunteer for AARP. So what do you think about that? She said, no problem, I'll be there with you. Well, I told Rita I was thinking about getting a motorcycle, and I wanted to know how she felt about that. She said, no problem. How do you feel about more life insurance? By the way, you can get some great rates on term life insurance. A motorcycle is a personal thing in the way the owner equips it. So when mine was new, I was buying things that I wanted for it. And one day, Rita was with me in the motorcycle shop. The bill was $150. As we walked out, I said, Rita, this thing's like having another woman in my life. Every time I turn around, she costs me another $150. Rita said, oh, no, no, no. If you got another woman in your life, it costs you way more than that. But in addition to her obvious wit, Rita does enormous community service. She visits and entertains at the assisted living facility in Mount Washington, helps with music in more than one church here, and she takes part in all of our chapter community service activities, and she is currently the president. Rita and I learned a wonderful story that sets the theme for the rest of my remarks. At a party given by a billionaire on Shelter Island, the late Kurt Vonnegut was taking in the grandeur of the place and informed his pal, the author Joseph Heller, that their host, a hedge fund manager, might have been Madoff, had made more money in a single day than Heller had earned from his popular book, Catch-22 Over Its Whole History. And Joe Heller said, yes, probably true, but I have something this guy will never have. I have enough. What a wonderful word, enough. And when we have enough, then what shall be our purpose? Many of you do not know the others in here, but you all have something in common. All of you have decided that in some way you will devote some time to your community, your world, and its people, not for pay, but because it needs to be done. You are not all AARP volunteers, but my organization has a name for what you do. We call it Creating the Good. Google that, and you'll find a website dedicated to you. There are people here that lead Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, people that work on habitat houses, people that collect food from those who have enough and distribute it to the growing numbers who do not. Some of you prepare and serve hot meals to those without means and perhaps with no home in which to prepare a meal. Some care for elders and people with disabilities so they can stay in their homes and not be removed to a nursing home. Some advocate for better long-term care programs in both the public and the private sectors. In here we have volunteers that identify older people who are without any family and see to it they get cards and gifts on appropriate occasions. You're sitting among people who work in the fight against cancer and diabetes, asthma, and heart disease. We have people here who reach out to children that want to learn but lack the money or supplies or the moral support at home. You're sitting near those who travel to disaster scenes and shelters, both locally and sometimes hundreds of miles away, to provide relief to victims and the professional responders. People here go offshore to help sick children whose only medical assistance happens when a volunteer appears in their village. People that have done work around the world on behalf of women's health and women's rights are here today. There are volunteers here at the University of Kentucky Extension that reach out with practical education that helps our citizens maintain their homes and families in these tough times. Volunteers in this building work to clean and beautify our community. AARP volunteers have traveled our state teaching seniors better driving practice, preparing their taxes, helping them avoid con men and scammers. They taught those over 50 how to navigate through career changes and job searches in the 21st century. Our volunteers have expertise in Social Security and health care. There are people in this room that have organized volunteers to help preserve our history, our heritage, and mark the resting places of our ancestors. Some have recorded and preserved the stories of our veterans, honored their memories, and assisted those recovering from the injuries of service. Some have worked to keep open our precious library. The annual Andrus Award comes as a reminder that we are all in this together. And we are never better than we reach out beyond ourselves to make our community a better place for all of its people. You who are here with me today stand as an example we hope will motivate others to serve in whatever way they find useful and rewarding. So I deeply appreciate receiving the Andrus Award, and I hope you will allow me to accept it on your behalf Thank you all for coming and for all that you do.